In isolation, I think, for 6 weeks. My mother was still in Upminster. So they phoned her and said the boy ain't very well and it might be that he ain't going to make it. But I rallied round or whatever.
He's got a serious backpacker.
Polio attacks your nervous system. So if you get polio on the outside, those muscles there, and these ones here are still working, that's what happens. It pulls you like that because the balance is no longer there. So, I mean, it happens on this hand. That one's working and that one ain't. The opposite muscle to do that ain't working. That's why that doesn't hold it like that anymore. Well, if you go to Africa, you got Nairobi, you see kids with polio, like bloody like a corkscrew. It can really pull you out of shape. So what they did with me is put me in a complete plaster body, both legs, both arms and torso, to stop you getting, you know, distorted. I got a transfer down to Braintree, which is in Essex.
I remember the wrench of leaving all this behind.
I don't know how long I was in, I can't remember. But at least a year, I should think. When you're a kid, you're very open to, you know, whatever's going on. You're with a peer group, you're with other people who are just the same as you, or in different states or even wherever. And you don't consider them anything different from what's normal, whoever they might be, or whatever condition they're in. You only judge them whether they're a nice person or not. And there's some real shockers, and there's some really smashing ones. And sometimes the really smashing ones can't even communicate at all. Then I went to Chailey.
In 1951, and my auntie said Chailey would be the best place for him to go. And she's an expert in special schools and special needs. I'm sure she was right.
The Queen and the two princesses visited the Heritage Craft Schools for crippled children at Chailey. Gifts made by the children were presented to the royal visitors. There are some 350 children.
Chailey was basically a good place. It was a trade school, really. And they taught you cobbling, printmaking, or carpentry. It was one of the reasons, you know, you should be able to go in a cobbler's shop up until about 15 years ago, and every cobbler you ever saw was disabled because they were trained into being cobblers. Chailey made me strong, physically and mentally. The rule at Chailey was if you fell over, you had to get yourself up. Otherwise, you shouldn't really be there. It took a while to get up sometimes for some people, but you found a way. The spirit of that place was absolutely, there was no despair, there weren't any suicides as far as I recall. It was a good place in many ways. It wasn't a good place in terms of educational. My mother thought, well, rather than him being a cobbler, I'd like him to go to grammar school and become a lawyer. So I got accepted for High Wycombe Royal Grammar School as a boarder. Couldn't say I was happy there. I was the most miserable I ever was, I think 5 years there in that place. I didn't fit in there. I wouldn't have fitted in there if I hadn't have had polio. I like to think. God forbid I might have been a bank manager now or something.
What did you learn in school today?
Cashing.
The minute the teacher turns away.
That's it.
How many times were you truly intrigued?
Not many.
Is boredom a symptom of mental fatigue?
Not many.
And when have you ever been top of the class?
I was 10 years from the age of 7 to the age of 17. 90% of my time was away from home. I'd already got accepted for Walthamstow School of Art by then. I knew that art school was an institution I could subscribe to. Plus I was at home every night. And really to me it was only about being at home. I love it being at home.
You can't fill another's mystery, occupy another's space. You can't do another's duty or take a special place.
So just up here on the right, we'll get there in a minute, it's had what they call, I think, a granny flat and a garage built beside of it, because it was. There you go. It's now yellow, which is sort of horrendous. There it is. The porch is the same, beautiful, but I've done drawings of that porch. There's me granny, me aunt Betty, me great aunt, loads of people, Martin and Lucy, my two cousins. The place was full of people. Hancy, a kind of au pair-ish person. So they got a caravan, a Bluebird caravan, 404 quid, I'll never forget that. And I lived in that. We had great fun in the caravan. I had parties in there with 15 people sometimes. The joint was rocking. I had the old wind-up gramophones with me Charlie Parker and me Gene Vincent.
White waist, black shirt, white socks, black shoes, black hair, white strap, red, white collar, swing, Gene Vincent. Let the blue caps roll tonight. And the succumb ball in the Union Hall. The pop is their delight. Well, if the fun's on stage and you're not Kenny, the one with the flying feet. Well, you can break the peace, play the sickle breeze. The beat is we can't beat. And the jump back honey in the dark.
If we hang round to the right, I'll show you where my caravan used to be. If you park on the other side of the road, it's possible. Look, it's all got parking meters, restrictions. Unbelievable. Well, this great big long fence, keep over to the left a bit, though. If it's possible to stop sort of here-ish. No, they built a whole house at the side, look. Just go a little bit further down. I'm put on that side. We'll be okay.
Watch the lump.
What, the camera? So in there, my caravan would have been sort of back a bit over there where that squirrel is. And I lived there, I don't know, 14 years, till I went to the Royal College of Art in 1963. And that house there, and that one next to it, that was our garden. That was the orchard. So they built three houses in the garden. That was Pam Price's house there. I went to see Baby Doll with her at not Pam Price, Pam, God, I can't remember her name. Pam, anyway. We went to see Baby Doll together at the London Pavilion. Eli Wallach and Carol Baker, directed by Elia Kazan, as I recall. This is Endgame Gardens. I had a couple of other friends. Teresa lived down here, a few other buds. My mate, my cousin Martin had a good mate down here. They both called each other Ned. Well, there we are. That's something stuff.
59 I went to Walthamstow, October 16th. I wanted to go to art school because I liked the idea of the bohemian lifestyle, freedom. I sort of thought I might be a painter one day. It was the way of life that appealed to me. It was the freedom, the style, the glamour of not being normal. I wasn't that good at art. I mean, I became good at art by dint of effort, and I learned. And I took it serious enough, and I loved doing it. I mean, I loved it. I loved drawing. All of us were very, very serious.
Pop art, the world of the popular imagination, the world of film stars, the twist, science fiction, pop singers. The first, and I suppose in some sense is the leader of the group, is Peter Blake. Blake is 29. He comes from Dartford in Kent, where his father is an electrician.
It was the first day of term.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Wednesday
morning.
I think it was literally the first day I was teaching. They said, your group have gone off sketching. Because I was late. I was always late. Because I had a principle. I wouldn't leave the house before 9:30 or something like that. So I was always late. So they sent me to find you all. And on the way to where you were going to be, I thought, well, I'll pop into the boozer. And of course, you were in there.
I was in there. Oh, that's
I forget who you were with. Probably Joe. No, just two of you.
Oh, really?
Two of you had
Could have been Arthur, Stan.
cut off from the party, and rather than saying, "Come on, chaps, go and do your work," we had a few drinks. Then we wandered up there, and then you started the landscape. And I suppose just some kind of whatever rapport or trust happened because of that. I guess. I mean, that's the way I've always remembered it.
I can always remember you had I think it was probably from Austin's in Shaftesbury Avenue, brown herringbone tweed, slightly Ivy League jacket with a zigzag round the back and a raised seam. I remember that. Tab collar shirt, the paisley tie. I remember that. Probably a French trouser. One of the first things we learned from you was to become personally involved with the subject of our paintings rather than just going out and doing some bland old boozer in Leighton or something. you said, well, do you actually care? And I remember straight away, you know, you said things, do you like boxing? And it was when Cassius Clay just started up, firing up, and various, you know, interesting wrestlers were around, like Sky High Lee.
Our paintings were, our drawings were, you know, fairly representational, but livened up as well. So we're going to do something, we do it with a slightly obsessive air, you know, we'd be into it. It was happening place. We were listening to Jazz Messengers and Charlie Mingus and Ornette Coleman and going down Ronnie Scott's and what have you, dressing well.
I mean, that couple of years at Walthamstow of getting very, very excited by painting and music and running those dances that we did and getting Tubby Hayes down there, I'll never forget that. Because we could have had Tubby Hayes or the Beatles. I mean, we could have had the Beatles for 400 quid, yeah.
Really?
But we thought, let's have Tubby Hayes. I was a big Tubby Hayes, yeah.
You're right at the beginning.
Yeah, I was a big, you know, big Tubby Hayes fan. So we got Tubby Hayes quintet for the price of a quartet. So we booked him as a quartet. And we got I don't know who it was, piano player, presumably. Don't know who it was. But that whole sort of mixture between Carnaby Street was kicking in then, and I suppose it was the start of the swinging whatevers, you know.
It was pre the swinging 60s,
yeah,
isn't it?
and they were swinging.
Yeah.
Well, there was this sudden, you know, really interesting, really exciting, livened up British art movement. I think that the excitement of those days took us on the students. At one time, I think we had about 15 out of 100, or maybe even more, in the painting school at the Royal College that went to Walthamstow. We used to all come down the back stairs into the canteen, team-handed. Woo! Like that.
From walking into that boozer,
yeah,
we've been friends, haven't we? From that very first day. Because you came to all the private views,
went to all of them, yeah.
All the private views. You came to my sister's wedding, didn't you? Down in Brighton.
No, I didn't go to that one. I think I missed that one.
I met Betty at the Royal College of Art when we got married. She was in the Royal College of Art painting school. A very good painter, much better painter than me. She wasn't at all overt or trendy or anything like that. She was proper painter. Did it because she wanted to do it. Didn't do it to be wearing this hat or that hat. She was wonderful. So it was a friendship. It wasn't just, it wasn't just a marriage, you could say. It was somehow deeper than what marriages and divorces and all that bollow. It was stronger than anything you could say, really. She got ill about 5.5 years ago with cancer, and she died. She died too young. We were extremely poor at the time. Well, my dad, he died after waiting for his boss at London Airport for about 8 hours in the shitty weather. And he died that night of emphysema. He left me 2,000 quid, and me and Betty could then afford to have a baby. He died in March 1968. Well, Jemima was born in January the 4th, so we got weaving straight away, basically. Peter Blake helped me get a couple of gigs as an illustrator. And I could have gone further into that, except I didn't want to. Didn't want to make a living doing that. I let it lapse, and I got a couple of teaching jobs. I was teaching at Canterbury. I was a part-time teacher, so you have a rapport with the students. A wonderful rapport.
She can roll a shoulder, she can move the rest.
You can't copyright a title.
She's a gamey lass, jerking with her elbow.
And when I started a band, it was using 3 of the students from Canterbury, the Kilburns.
Diction very bad, friction double rich.
Ian taught me to draw.
When it comes to business,
You can't talk to draw with respect, but anyway.
Well, it's nice. You showed me something.
And that was good. We struck a... You had a car as well, didn't you? A little Morris Minor.
I thought we'd get round to that. Yes, everybody eventually came round to that. I was the only one with a car.
That was also...
And it had a dent in the front. I remember Dan Woodside came out and I said I'd give him a lift up to London. And the first thing he said, oh, that's a bad sign. He saw the dent.
I had a love-hate relationship with teaching. I kind of got a bit sick of it. And I started writing doggerel, and I started doing a band in order to subsidise my paintings, to make a living that wasn't teaching.
Woke up this morning in a steady shout. I heard a mumble rumble and a cocky row.
I saw bands and I thought they were crap, and I thought I could do better in terms of entertainment. But I never thought of myself, well, I still don't think of myself as a singer. I think of myself as a performer. And I said to the social secretary, if you want a good assessment at Christmas, you put my band on the bottom of the bill at the dance. He goes, yeah, all right.
Well, there was something about our performance. I mean, it was the worst gig and the greatest gig all in one. It was just enough to mean that we couldn't put our guitars gracefully away and go back to our old life, you know. So we had to start. The ball was rolling, wasn't it? Not? Was that right?
I always felt extreme confidence about delivering a show, but I never thought about making records at all. Never. Not until I met Charlie Gillett.
So I came along to this place which looked entirely different from how it looks now. Yeah. And on stage was a bunch of people who looked as if they might just have met each other at the bus stop outside. Because there's a thing about bands, when people form bands, there's a tendency for them to look like each other. They dress similarly, they have similar haircuts, and there's just a look. You could see them outside and you'd know that was a band. These people, they are playing together and you know they are not a band. The man in front, standing on stage, was, I don't know, something lurching about his method of being on stage. It made you not know what was going on.
Right.
In the interval, because it was those days, the same band did 2 sets.
8 o'clock till 8:45, 9 o'clock till 10:15, 10 o'clock till 11.
There was an interval. All I remember was when the interval happened, the band would come off stage, make for the bar, except for one who would stay behind the drum kit. And then at the end of the night, the drummer got up with crutches and came off.
Right.
And you thought, the drummer has crutches. You know, these are radical ideas. I got to tell you, in 1973, this was bizarre, or 1972, whatever it was.
Yeah. I think the thing about the Kilburns was that people couldn't kind of walk past them without thinking, oh, I've got to have another look. You know, and at that point, you've got them.
I mean, basically, none of us could wait to go out of the pubs. We didn't want to be... The changing room was a lavatory in here. And I remember Lee Thompson said he used to get in through the window, Lee from Madness. And he used to come in through the window and see me and David trying to change and look smart with a bleeding feet up to our ankles in water and the rest of it. So it was difficult circumstances. And getting off stage and coming into the audience, although it's good for your ego, it doesn't help the show business side of things, really, because it makes it all kind of... In here, there was a lovely guy called Jerry, a Caribbean guy. And he used to sometimes, towards the end of the evening, he used to try and put his head inside the bass drum. I remember that. He used to get right involved with it. And he said, Ian, Gary Sobers was born with a cricket ball in his hand, and you was born singing. And I go, Jerry, you want to have my career? I really loved him because he gave me so much encouragement. And I think that the ingredients that kept us going was encouragement. And the later part of the Kilburns, of course, Malcolm McLaren, every gig we did in London, he'd bring the Sex Pistols down. And the very last gig, the Kilburn, Ian Dury and the Kilburns, it was called by them, the kind of sad end of it, really. But we were headlining. We were last ones on at Walthamstow Assembly Rooms. And second underneath us was the Stranglers, and bottom of the bill was the Sex Pistols. And I stood with Fred, our handler and social secretary, one on each side of Malcolm McLaren, whilst watching the Sex Pistols, who had the safety pin, which was sartorial elegance that I'd inspired myself with. And leaning forwards and growling and holding the microphone in just like I did. And Malcolm got me on one side and Fred on the other going, what's all that about it, Malcolm? Like that, he's going, like that. I'll say if he's copying me, and he. Old Malcolm's squeaking away.
And ever since, Malcolm's always said he was copying Richard Harris.
More people have seen the Kilburns since they packed it in than saw them when they were going. Exactly. I've met more people than he could have filled the Albert Hall with them. Oh, oh, fantastic night. I mean, oh, yes. I mean, they actually, at the time, had a legendary status as well. Other bands were scared of us. Other bands paid us a kind of respect, not a musical respect, but an entertainment respect, because of our attitude. The band was the end of our marriage. But not because I was out there getting drunk and drugs and groupies, because I was never there, basically. My daughter said there were times when she felt a bit lonely. More so, actually, when I was being a so-called success. Because it was in the papers all the time, or whatever it was. She was aware of my being alive without me being there. So that was more difficult then, I think.
Some girl babysat for us once, and we were all up in my room, was on the front of the house, wasn't it? Yeah. And she got all her mates lined up outside, was going, "Why? Guess whose house this is?"
No.
Yeah, they're all standing outside.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
She didn't let them in. That was could be a blessing.
Funny times.
I think I used to boast about it quite a lot as a little 6-year-old.
Yeah.
I met some geezer recently who worked at Shepherd's Bush Empire. He was a bouncer at Shepherd's Bush Empire. And he grabbed me and went, "Do you remember me?" I went, "No." He went, "Oh, I used to live in your area in Ellsbury." And I went, "All right." He said, "Last time I saw you, you were getting battered by a big load of tall kids down the end of your street." And after I pushed him out of the way, he said, Thank you very much. My dad's Ian Dury, he's going to reward you." And I took you all the way back to the house, and you answered the door, went, "Who the fuck are you?" That kid went, "Oh." That was the end of him. Never saw him since.
While this is happening, all punk music is exploding all over the country, and I'm getting very bitter. Rod, our piano player, suddenly decided he'd had enough, and he wandered off into the Mystic. And we were playing in a pub called the Nashville. Bit frustrating, no piano player.
And then Ian was wearing a fez, like a Tommy Cooper fez. And my heart was, most of the gig, my chin was on the floor. I didn't know what to make of it. It was just like, it was very compelling. It was great, but it was like, didn't know what to make of it, you know. So after the gig, I sort of like hypnotised, went onto the stage.
And you come up with a piano keyboard smile. Hello, I went, "Do I know you, mate?" That's all I said. I didn't mean to be horrible.
Come on, the rest of it.
And you went, "Oh no." I said, "Well, fuck off then."
Yeah.
Try to change my t-shirt. And I just went, "Oh, look."
What have I go now?
No, I went there. I went immediately. What have I done? So I said to Spate, "Listen, I was very rude to that chap who just came in here. See, I think he might be a mate of yours." So Spate went out and found Chaz by the bar, and hopefully transmitted my apologies. It was the very first thing I said to you. Fuck off.
It was.
Chaz is a guy that I wrote the hits with and still write with. Who'd heard we were looking for a keyboard player. So he just wandered down. And we became firm friends. And I just went, "Do you want to pick up Kilburn and the Highways and work with him? He's brilliant." And that's what I did. And just spent a year and a half, nearly 2 years, writing songs. I didn't want to be a Cockney rock and roller, you know, but I didn't want to be an American anymore. Charlie Gillett, he heard a demo we did that I was singing with an American accent, and he said, "What's all that Barry White impersonations?" And I felt ashamed of my culture, and I went home and rewrote the lyrics to try and make it funny rather than trying to be sexy, and I thought, that's it.
That's all about blockheads, superior as you are. There's no mankind with a well-strung mind. A blockhead can't be very far. That's all about blockheads. Why should you care what they do? 'Cause after all said and done, you're all blockheads too. Oi, oi.
Well, we didn't really know about musical things. Ian's a tiny bit older than us, and we didn't know about the cheeky chappy and, you know, the sort of vaudeville-ness. We just thought he was highly entertaining all around, and it seemed to be a very good blend of rock funk with this lyrics from another planet, you know what I mean?
I did all that moody Tommy Cooper in order just to pass the time when I wasn't actually doing anything, because I always thought Mick Jagger looked like a bloody idiot when he was trying to be James Brown. Don't forget that in popular music there are very few personalities. They're mostly kind of drab, soppy little bank clerks who've had a result.
Yeah? Alright, cool. Yeah, he's ready. Alright, let's have ya. Okay, chaps, on we go.
We came out, I don't know how many, 35, 38 demos. We did that little studio in Wimbledon. And when we got enough, just picked off the ones that seemed to make an album, which was New Boots and Panties. There's a little bit of campness in there, there's a little bit musical in there, in the music. It's not just me. I mean, we had this discussion, Chaz and myself, quite a lot, that I wanted to be English, but I wanted also all our influences to be what they were. So I didn't want to make an English record. I wanted it to sound like the music we liked. Music that made me want to dance. You know, Jamaican music, African music, American funk, jazz. But I'm quite proud that my sources of lyric writing are what I know about and what I live amongst.
Sex and drugs and rock and roll are all my brain and body need. Sex and drugs and rock and roll are very easy. Keep your silly ways or throw them out the window. The wisdom of your ways, I've been there and I know lots of other ways. What a jolly bad show. If all you ever do is business you don't like.
Yeah, it wasn't either really for or against, it was descriptive. It was almost journalism. It was about somebody saying that's what they liked. But when the audience starts singing along with you, you can't tell them to stop. Don't sing. No, that's after this. You can't say don't sing, you know. Audiences are only too willing to enjoy themselves. That's what I found out years ago. And basically, a band is only an excuse, an outing, a rock and roll outing. What we do is entertainment. It's not holy, and it's not a religion, and it isn't deep philosophy. I saw a band in Canterbury. I was sitting there having a drink once, and it's some little dodgy local band. And a bloke came up to the mic and went, "Here's one by Ron, our rhythm guitar player. It's called Wintry Days." Oh, I thought, blimey. Don't tell them anything. Don't ever tell anybody anything. When you're on stage, you start telling people things. It's just laborious, you know. I was coming here tonight and I had a thought. Oh, you know, we'll keep it.
Just cause I ain't never had nothing worth having, never ever, never. Just cause I ain't never had nothing worth having, never ever, never. You ain't got the corner to think I won't fall into thinking I ain't too clever. Ain't having one thing nor another, rather neither is there anything I haven't ever had one ever. And it ain't no proving that there ain't nothing moving in the answer to the name Trevor. Just cause I ain't never said nothing worth having, never say, never ever, never. Things have been made into what I never said, till me now becomes me head, which ain't not all that Corey-Mila. It ain't the same one thing, nor not another, rather not really anything I ever, never said, whatever. Shine and there ain't nothing I know in answering to the name Trevor. However, knock me down with myself. Forever.
I thought when we did New Boots and Panties that it would do exactly what it did, which is around the world over a period of years. It did about 1 million, and I never really extended my hopes or dreams or ambitions, whatever you want to call it, beyond being able to sell out Hammersmith Odeon. That was the to me that was a yardstick, and we did. We sold Hammersmith Odeon in 1978, early 78. I relaxed immediately. So by the summer of 1978, we were, I don't know about the rest of them, but I was knackered. And then, you know, hey man, when's your next album coming out? Well, I managed to scuffle about 3 songs together, one of which was Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick.
Right now it's #1 time, and yes, he's made it. Ian Dury and the Blockheads.
In the deserts of Sudan and the gardens of Japan, from Milan to Yucatan, every woman's, every man. Hit me with your rhythm stick, hit me, hit me. Je t'adore, ich liebe dich. Hit me, hit me, hit me. Hit me with your rhythm stick. Hit me slowly, hit me quick. Hit me, hit me, hit me.
Oh, it was great, obviously, to be #1. It's just that I was in the papers all the time and on the telly quite a lot, and it became uncomfortable being different because I walk differently from most people. Ever since I was young, people would be staring without knowing it half the time. So that continued, but then I got recognised. So I was doubly recognisable, not because people necessarily knew that I walked with a strange gait, but they noticed me because of the way I walked, and then they recognised me. And that I got fed up with being disabled at that point. Actually, I was alright if I was with somebody. I could just talk to them and forget about it. But if I was on my own, I got very self-conscious. Then I got very nervous about falling over, because I used to fall over all the time. I go charging about, I fall over, I swear ever so loud, and I get up again and get weaving. But I got embarrassed about the idea of being recognisable and falling over at the same time. And I read somewhere Paul McCartney said when he's walking through Soho, he would get recognised and then he'd walk briskly away. Well, that's straight. If I walk briskly away, I'll be falling over straight away. So there was a kind of moment of discomfort.
1, 2, 3, I'm spasticus, 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 autisticus, spasticus, 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 autisticus, spasticus, 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 autisticus. Whittle when I piddle, cause my middle is a riddle. Spasticus, I'm spasticus, I'm spasticus, autisticus, spasticus, spasticus.
1981 was the year of the disabled, which meant 1982 everyone's going to be all right. So I thought that's a load of bollo. So I wrote a song.
Hello to you out there in normal land. You may not comprehend my tale or understand.
Using the word spaz always used to get on my tits quite severely. Spaz, they used to spazzy dancing. There was some little girl group used to describe it as spaz dancing. So I thought, well, I'll make a band called Spastic and the Autistics, and we'll go around. And my friend Spate, he goes, no, Spasticus Autisticus, the freed slave, based on the Kubrick epic, I'm Spartacus. So it started from there. It started with a kiss and developed into the thrusting momentum of... I remember when Charlie, our late drummer, started playing it, I said, the bass drum, Charlie, is kind of like, imagine you're nutting somebody every time you play the bass drum. Like that. He went, can do.
I'm spasticus, 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 autisticus, spasticus, 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 autisticus, I'm spasticus, spasticus,
I wrote this a war cry. My awareness within the record of Spasticus wasn't a shared awareness amongst walkie-talkies. So I obviously knew there was a risk that I was going to alienate a lot of people and they were going to get the hump with me. What's this fucking, spazzer doing squeaking? Well, I wasn't moaning. I was actually doing the opposite of moaning. I was yelling.
Spasticus! 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 Autisticus!
Place your hard-earned peanuts in my tin. Everyone's supposed to be very grateful. Thanks for helping me. I'm not going to do this for charity. I don't do that for charity. I don't do charity in that way. If I'm doing something charitable, I would try and go and just be useful as an observer, or if I work for UNICEF, I'll go and look at what's happening out there. I ain't going to go and do a gig and give them £20.50, you know what I mean? That's a bloody joke. It was banned. I knew it'd get banned. But it was allowed to be played on the BBC if you had permission after dark. You was allowed to play it. Well, that's the truth. I don't know now. What, after dark? Well, they can't see him no more, or what?
You want to go to the toilet, don't you? You don't make sense, you don't, boy. Come on, shut your mouth.
When I was a kid, I wanted to be an actor. But then I met quite a lot of actors, and I changed my mind. But
if you go down in the woods,
so many rock and roll people go into the acting game. None of them can act, and they get a part that's too big for them, and they're terrible actors, all of them. I don't know one, apart from myself, who's quite good. But the only reason I'm good is because I learnt by doing little tiny things and working at Watford Palace Theatre for a month and stuff.
This is my domain. I'm in and out here everywhere, all about.
I sort of enjoy it. A Saturday afternoon, there's 40 people in there, 3 old ladies eating crisps in the front row, see Annette Crosby come out and go, oh, no, it's Queen Victoria. Then the top actor in there, tsk, tsk, like that, telling them to shut up. Those sort of aspects. Or I remember we came out in the green room, which we called a bar in normal, after the matinee in Watford, and Caroline Langrish says, well, I'm afraid I rather busked it this afternoon. And T.P. McKenna, the voice, he went, I have never busked a performance in my life. I went, oh, you fibber. Or things like that. Or afterwards, a bloke in a green velvet suit and a cravat comes up and says, my darling, I laughed till I cried. I went, on your bike, mate, you never. Like that, they go, oh, crestfallen person. I like the congratulation aspects of acting. I like the fact they really do stroke each other's egos, or massage the old neck muscles and all that caper going on all the time. I love all that. It's all bollow, but I love it. When musicians have a blinding gig, they come backstage after and go, like that. They don't say nothing, have a drink, get their sandwiches and go and meet their mum.
If you want to join in, it's speech silent, shake your ass, wiggle your booty, come to mash it up, mash it up, mash it up, mash it up.
After a hiatus period of 17 years, we finally came up with a record called Mr. Lovepence. This was a result of about 4 years of writing songs. If you've got time, you can always get some quality. If you haven't got time, you end up making not very good records, which is what I've been doing for a long time. So we've had some blinding gigs. So it feels generally quite healthy at the moment.
He's got his little mortgage and he's got his little lounge, he's got his little bit of England to defend. He's got his little telly, he's got his little phone, he wants a bit of Wembley up his ponder's end. He's got his little garden, he's got his little shed, he's got his little mower on the grass. He's got his little garage, he's got his little car, he wants a bit of Wembley up his Khyber Pass. Don't call Harry a walking King Edward, don't roast him on a spike. I think Harry's a real golden wonder, let Harry be the spud you like. Mash it up, mash it up, mash it up, Harry. Mash it up, mash it up, mash it up, Harry. Mash it up, mash it up, mash it up, Harry. Mash it up, mash it up, mash it up, Harry.
I went to America to do a part in a movie called The Crow Part 2. And I felt weird out there. I thought it was jet lag. I thought it was digestive jet lag. And I went to see the quack and he said it probably was, just a bit of a... And then I thought, no, this ain't. So I went back again. And this time he went, following day he operated. And that was a tumour in my colon. And that meant that there was a chance it could go to the liver. And it would stay clear until about a year last January. And I said, well, the first question that you always ask in the counselling scenario is, how long have I got, Doc? And he said, there's no way I can predict that. It probably will be terminal, and it probably will be whatever time span I got, I have no idea. I don't really spend a great deal of time thinking about it. I only get upset when I look at my kids, when I think I might not be there to see them grow up. That does me right up. But as regards looking after my family, luckily I can do that as well. I've got enough dosh to be able to not worry about them staying alive. I'm not anywhere near a millionaire or anything like that, but I've got enough. They can survive. Anyway, Sophie's a brilliant sculptress, so she'll make a living anyway. But knowing there is that cushion there, that's very good for my spirit. I haven't seen my other two kids grow up, I've had a good crack anyway. Plus the fact that I've had a major crack at life, which, more than most people get. So I wouldn't feel like I've been hard done by. A very close friend of mine died about 1.5 2 years ago. A friend of mine who lived in Dagenham. And Charlie, our drummer, died, and my wife Betty died. And I've known a lot of people pass away from cancer, and somehow their strength and their attitude, their bravery, if it is bravery, their logic, I call it, does help you deal with it. It really does. If I was feeling frustrated and unrecognised or unfulfilled or anything like that, I'm sure it'd be much more difficult. But I don't feel any of that stuff. I feel very lucky. I'm very almost as if I had a blessed life, really, because nobody's ever been horrible to me, ever. I don't think, ever. Everyone's been very nice to me, very helpful, very encouraging, still are. Your Director General came in his Armani jacket to see us last week. I nearly grassed you up, but I didn't quite. But it's great, when somebody is I don't know, when a mover and a shaker comes around and shakes your hand, it's nice, it makes you feel really good. And I've always been a bit of a snob.
Reasons to be cheerful, part 3, verse 1. Somebody hurry, the working folly, good golly, Miss Molly and boats. I must be Paddy, the bow showing Paddy, jump back in the alley, ain't no go. I eat with the scowls, Dominican camels, all other males are equal both. See a Piccadilly, feeling rather silly, playing with my willy and down his road. Bit of grin and berry, you're welcome with the spirit, come along and share it, oh yellow socks. Too short to be haughty, too nothing to be naughty, well after 40, no electric shock. Bit of bear bread, juice of the cow, a little bit of clout, anything that rocks. Elvis and Scotty, the days when I was 40, sitting on the potty, curing smallpox. Reasons to be cheerful, part 3. Reasons to be cheerful, part 3. Reasons to be cheerful, part 3. Reasons to be cheerful. 1, 2, 3.
I don't worry about it, I don't think about it, I don't think it goes on afterwards. I don't care if I'm immediately forgotten. I don't care if my work floats down the tubes. I don't give a shit. I'm not here to be remembered, I'm here to be alive,
Reasons to be cheerful. 1, 2, 3. Failure unfolds me with clammy green arms. Damn the excursions and blast the alarms. For the rest of what's natural, I'll lay on the ground. Tell me tomorrow if I'm still around. Bye!